I started my photo business kind of accidentally about 12 years ago. And since then, my photo business has made millions of dollars. And I've helped a lot of people through this YouTube channel and our coaching program make millions of dollars as well in their own photography businesses. And so in this video, I want to give you my experience having been in the industry for a while on the worst things you can do if you're trying to make money as a photographer, especially going forward into 2025. Just give you my general thoughts about the industry, because there's something you hear a lot, which if you're at all into the photography industry, you've heard people complaining about how the industry has changed, how it's not a good way to make money. And I think it's just like any business. Of course, that's true if you do things wrong or you pick the wrong business. But there's also the other side of it, which is I think it's a better time than ever before to make money as a content creator of different types if you find the right type, right? And so if you think about it, I mean, all of us consume way more content created by photographers and videographers via this thing we're scrolling constantly than ever before. It's just different than it used to be. It used to be more printed stuff and more photos that were impossible to take because we didn't have phones like this. We had to hire professionals, family photos, different things like that, right? There was a lot more opportunity there. So what I believe is that it's not that the opportunity has gotten worse. In fact, the better phone images have gotten, the more time we spend on this, I think the opportunity is greater. It's just different than it's been in the past. So when I see photographers talking about how the industry is not good, I see photographers that sadly have either not adapted or just don't know what the way to make money is. And so here's my take on it. When you're looking at starting a photo business, you really want to have three things, and I call them the 3 R's: repeat business, required business, and referral business. So if you can pick a type of photography that has these 3 things, it is way easier to be successful. There's 2 skills, in my opinion, when it comes to being in business. There's running the actual business and scaling it, right? But there's actually picking what business to start in the first place. And I think that's something that I know I didn't put a lot of time into at the start. I got lucky with the type of photography I do, and I'll talk about that in a second. But it's something that if you're thinking about becoming a photographer, you already are, and you just want to make your business better, it's worth putting some thought into, because picking the right business really matters. And so back to the 3 R's: repeat business, referral business, and required business. If you can find a niche with those 3 things, you're going to do better. Before you can do that, you have to pick a niche in the first place. And that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. So one of the worst things that you can do as a photographer to basically kill your chances of making money in 2025 is be a generalist and shoot everything. That's the old model. That used to be anybody that was good with the camera could shoot a little bit of everything. Well, today, everybody's decent with a camera because we all have this in our pockets. So you really need to be really good. And so you're not going to be able to be really good at everything. And so you have to pick a niche. But it's not, when I say really good, I don't mean you're like the best photographer of all time. I'm not talking about skills with the camera. That's part of it, but it's also knowing what clients you're targeting, knowing how to talk to those clients specifically, knowing what they want, having systems set up to serve that group of clients best. And so the biggest mistake of all you can make if you're trying to make money as a photographer in 2025 is not picking a niche. The second biggest mistake is not picking the right niche. And that's really what I want to help you with in this video. I think it's no surprise that I'm a real estate photographer, right? So I'm going to talk about real estate photography, but I'm going to talk about it through the lens, pardon my pun, of these 3 things: repeat, referral, and required. If you find another niche that has these, it's probably going to be better than one that doesn't. And so repeat business, pretty self-explanatory, right? It's business that isn't done when you do the shoot for them. So a good example of not repeat business is wedding photography. That couple is likely never going to hire you again, right? And so you want to find a business that has repeat business. Real estate photography does, right? Because we work with real estate agents. Every time they have a listing, they call us, we shoot the listing, and they're trying to get another listing, right? Because it's how they make their money. So they're going to have another listing. It's repeat business. Product photography can have repeat business, right? Maybe not as frequently as real estate media, but when they launch a new product or have a new product line or whatever it is, right? They update a product, they're going to have you out to shoot it. Same with like food photography, right? They may be constantly needing you. Those clients, they're not done after the first one. So the first R is repeat business. I highly, highly encourage you to not pick a niche that doesn't have repeat business. It's probably the most important of the 3 R's, kind of, actually. You'll see in a second. But pick one that has that, and you've made it easier on yourself. You don't want to start a business by making it hard at the start. There's a quote I like. It's really a concept, not so much a quote, but Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger run Berkshire Hathaway. They're generally thought of as the best investors of all time. They're very capable business people. They're worth many, many $billions and each. And one thing they commonly do when they pass on a business is they pass because they say it's too hard, right? So the way I look at that is if some of probably the smartest people in business, or they're in the top group of the smartest people, right? They're very wealthy. They've done well. They've done it in a lot of different businesses. They've made a lot of good investments. If they're saying too hard, it kind of gives you permission and me permission as people who, I mean, I don't think I'm nearly as smart as them, right? It gives me permission to say too hard as well. I think a lot of people are like, no, I'll solve the challenge. And that attitude is good, but like, don't give yourself, it's like you're running a race starting 20 yards behind in a 100-yard race. Don't do that to yourself, right? So make it easier on yourself. Pick a niche with repeat business. The next one is required business. And here's what I mean by that. If you can pick a niche where the business is like they're going to hire a photographer, it helps them achieve something. It's not like legally required, right? But they really need one. That's going to give you a leg up. So wedding photography does well here. It actually slightly beats real estate photography, but it's kind of a yes or no with these 3 R's. So repeat business, no on weddings, yes on real estate. With required business, it's like a yes on both. You absolutely are going to have a profession. You're not shooting your wedding with this, 99% of people, right? So with weddings, it is required business. With real estate, it's not as required, but it's still necessary for real estate agents to do well. The vast majority of top performing real estate agents hire a photographer, so it's kind of required. But so it's, in this case for weddings and real estate, it's both a yes. So you really want to have something where it's required. If it's like family photos, for example, where some people, maybe people with a little bit more disposable income are going to hire, but some people are going to use their phone, especially as these get better, you need that less and less, right? Doesn't mean it's gone. It's just you're giving yourself another 10 yards back starting the race. And so that's what you want to look at when it comes to required business. And the last one that's really, really important, if you don't always want to be selling, is referral growth, referral-based business. And so let's go back to wedding photography. If you do a really good job shooting somebody's wedding, they're absolutely going to refer you, right? So wedding photography has this one as well. They're going to refer you. Now, I would argue that real estate photography has this one stronger than any other niche because you get a ton of referrals because real estate agents are always working with each other. Every day they work with other agents, right? One represents the buyer, one represents the seller. They all meet in the office together. They're touring houses. They're constantly networking. So if you do what our model is with real estate photography and you provide the best customer service you can possibly think of, you're going to get a lot of referrals. And what this means is that when you do a good job for an agent, that agent becomes your unpaid salesperson, basically. They go talk to other agents, they refer you. So the vast majority of the clients in my photo business, well over 1,000 clients that use us, came from referrals. We didn't actually do anything to get them. Now, when you're first starting your real estate photo business, you have to do active client outreach, and I think you should continue that if you want to grow the fastest. But eventually, you're not going to be able to keep up with active client acquisition methods compared to referrals. Referrals are going to, if you do a good job, they're going to be the strongest form of client acquisition for you. And it's the greatest because there's no commission to pay. You don't have to do any work. You just serve your clients, which also helps them keep using you, which is important. So get that with weddings. But like with product, for example, you're not as likely to get that because there's not as much opportunity for like two product-based businesses to talk about that necessarily. Same with family photography. Sure, families are always talking, but like they're not doing that family photography thing every day. Like real estate agents thinking about real estate every day, and they're going to need a photographer. So there's a lot more referral potential. So my advice to you, I'm not saying be a real estate photographer. I mean, kind of I am. What I'm saying is that whatever niche you pick, run it through those three things. And if it doesn't fit them, I highly encourage you to think about it more. If there's another niche that fits them as well as real estate, repeat business, tons of repeat business, required business, real estate agents need to hire a professional photographer if they want to stand out and do well, and the top agents do that. And then the most important of them all, in my opinion, is referral growth. Real estate kills all three of those, right? Weddings gets two of them really strong. Product gets two of them really strong. 2 out of 3 is a lot harder of a business than 3 out of 3. So whatever business you pick in 2025, number one, absolutely pick a niche. It's the biggest piece of advice I can give you as someone who's made millions of dollars in an industry where people think it's not possible to even make a living. And that couldn't be further from the truth unless you don't pick a niche. Very hard to run any sort of successful business if you do a little bit of everything. There will be people in the comments that are like, oh, I do it. But that is the exception, not the rule. And most of those people make far less than $10,000 a month, right? If you look at the scaled businesses, 50 grand a month, 100 grand, 250 grand a month, and more. I personally know real estate photographers that do more than 250 grand a month. They're specific. I've never met a generalist that does more than that, right? Some wedding photography companies will do pretty good revenue, but it's just not as common as real estate photography. And so, yeah, piece of advice, pick a niche. Absolutely. If you learn anything from me, I don't care if you pick real estate, just pick a niche. And then number 2, make sure you pick a niche with repeat, referral, and required business if you want to give yourself the best shot of success Going back to what I said at the start, there's two skills, right? There's running the business and there's picking the business. Do a little bit of research when it comes to picking the business. It's been interesting. The more I've talked to other business owners who are really successful, it usually wasn't their first business. And the thing that made their second business more successful, I mean, they probably had skills they learned in the first one, right? But the second one, they thought through the business. They're like, what challenges did my first business have, and what industry can I get in that doesn't have that challenge? I think that's really, really important and undervalued. I stumbled into it. I think real estate photography is a great business, and it respects a lot of the things that makes a business awesome or gives the business potential. But there are others as well. So you have to just really think through that. Now, obviously, I'm not saying you just do real estate photography and you're going to be rich, right? There's still work involved, but you're giving yourself the best shot of success as you possibly can. I think that's really important.